Hey, welcome to Santogo Surplus. This is another inside the shop video. I'm not even really working on something. I just finished a project though. This is a Remington Model 121. Possibly the best pump action 22 design ever. And you can find them, I'm finding them used still in the $400 range. And for what they are, that's actually a fantastic price. It's right in range with the new Henry pump. It's 10 times better than the Rossi. Nothing against the current Rossi Gallery plastic gun, but this is just better. Probably the most reliable and best multi-caliber, so 22 short, long rifle pump action 22 ever made. This one has an 18 3/4 inch barrel, and the reason it does is because the barrel, I bought this one as a project, and the end of the barrel, the crown was really hosed, so I had to take it down anyway, and it looked like I was going to have to really take it down a little bit beyond where I wanted to with the front dovetail, and I always wanted one shorter. This is so handy. The difference between that 18 inches and 24 inches is really, it's a lot. It's a huge difference when you're carrying it around, not dragging the muzzle in the dirt, just out in the field. And then I drilled and tapped for the Williams 5D, kind of like the foolproof, but with set screws instead of knobs, receiver sight. And just did a little job here, and it's an amazing, handy. This thing is just a blast to take out hiking. Now, if you can't walk with guns, it doesn't make a whole lot of difference. It is, however, noticeable the difference in sound signature with the barrel length, and I'm going to have to do a video on that and find my my little sound meter thing and check it out. But yeah, this was great. It's sighted in for 120 yards. It's a blast to shoot. So this is not what we're going to talk about today, though. We're going to talk about M1 carbines. Ooh. We're also going to talk about whatever the fuck it is that people play that makes them say stupid shit about the M1 carbine. Whatever, Tarkov, Call of Duty, Mario Kart, whatever the fuck you Zoomers are on about, alright? I guess it's Mario Kart. Oh, the M1 carbine of Mario Kart is compared to the 8mm Kurds with the STG-W44, which was the first real assault rifle because the Americans are stupid and insisted that they had created it first because the M1 carbine, but it's just a pistol. And Ian says, alright. I love Ian McCollum, okay? The guy's actually pretty cool. But he spent a few too many years involved with the douche. I'm sorry, with Carl. I shouldn't call him a douche. He's not. He's not. He's a person. He's a very good person. But he's got that, everyone should have their own opinion as long as it's mine. And if you don't wear a mask, you ain't a sheepdog and you're spreading the virus. Carl lost it last year. Not that he hadn't been progressively losing it over time before that, but I think Ian spent a little bit too much time in Carl's pocket. Let's get past Wikipedia for a moment and past the idea that the M1 carbine was a gun for truck drivers who never fight, because that's not true. And it wasn't designed to be a gun for truck drivers who never fight. That was never the design consideration. Okay? First, we're going to talk about what brought this up. What brought this up was a conversation on a Discord, a reloading Discord, specifically in a channel dedicated to revolvers. And the reason this came up is because some guy decided that he was going to claim that the 7.62 Nagant, that's a revolver cartridge, it's a revolver cartridge where the brass can form a gas seal when the cylinder moves forward so that you can silence the pistol, the revolver. But because of that, the brass goes way past the end of the bullet, so the brass is extremely long, 38 millimeters. Because the brass is 38 millimeters, this guy said, oh, it's obviously an intermediate cartridge, just like the M1 carbine. And I'm like, what the hell are you even on about? So he tells me that the entire internet, if you just Google M1 carbine and assault rifle, every result on the internet that you're going to get is about how brass length determines whether or not something is an intermediate cartridge. Okay, you know how stupid this is, right? It's not. As the conversation goes on over the course of a couple of days, this he backtracks on this a lot, but he maintains that this is the definition of the internet, not him. And he's wrong. He's wrong. He finally found me a single link talking about cartridge power. Okay, not brass length, but cartridge power on a gaming forum, right? This is the Mario Kart forum, right? It's not really Mario Kart. It's one of the other games. It's in my head, okay, and I'm not being generous here. I'm being a dick on purpose. In my head, this is the people who analyze F1 racing because Mario Kart. I played Mario Kart. Okay? No. You don't get to do that. So, let's start with, where do we start with? Okay, so his theory is that if your brass is this long, you probably don't have enough power for it to be an assault rifle cartridge, which is apparently indistinguishable from intermediate cartridge. He uses a lot of words very, very broadly and mixes them up a lot. But if the brass is longer than about 50 millimeters, and that's an arbitrary distinction because he's happens to like the Fedorov. Okay, he thinks the Fedorov Avtomat was the first true assault rifle. Therefore, that's the longest cartridge brass length that he will accept. Anything in between that will probably be intermediate, but you can't have an intermediate with a 50.1 millimeter brass case, and you can't have an intermediate cartridge with a 30 millimeter or 29.99 millimeter brass cartridge case. It has to be between 30 and 50 millimeters, which is just one of those stupid things where I'm like, what the fuck? How the fuck did you even get there as a definition? It's true. It happens to be true that most intermediate rifle cartridges, remember these are intermediate rifle cartridges, are in that range with the brass, but it's not a defining factor, okay? No one considers the 480 Ruger or the 500 Smith & Wesson Magnum or whatever variant of the 454 is hot today. No one ever considers them to be intermediate rifle cartridges just because the brass is longer than a 38 Special, right? Oh wait, 357. It's an intermediate rifle cartridge. No, it's not. 327. Actually, we're going to have to talk about that in a minute because 327 out of a lever action, which I have, does actually push the lower boundaries of an intermediate rifle cartridge. And it does so in certain loadings at certain times because of the effects of the speed of the bullet. And that's important. Whether it does so in terms of range is something we'll have to talk about a little bit later. So let's go on and figure out what an intermediate cartridge is. An intermediate cartridge, as originally defined and designed, okay, this is the people who were talking about this in the 1910s through the 1950s, okay? This is way back land, okay? This is stuff with actual paper sources, and you can actually read the books and the reports. It's not even on Tarkov. It's not even on Call of Duty, and you won't even see it in Mario Kart. It's on print. Paper, in fact. People who were talking about this were talking about things like the weight of the ammunition and the power, the recoil impulse, was too great with common infantry rifle ammunition. It was too much for what was going on. Yes, it was reasonably possible to hit a 5 foot by 5 foot piece of wood sitting at an angle like this as a target at 1,000 yards. Yes, it was reasonably possible to do. Now this is volley fire. This is long distance volley fire. This isn't sniping at this point. Okay, remember we're talking about a different kind of warfare, and we're going to have to talk about that also. All right, that'll be part 2 of this video. And it was too powerful. You don't shoot that far. Most of your combat engagements are in that under 300 yards, and under 500 yards gives you even more of them. Okay, that's basically all you're doing. So one of the defining factors of intermediate cartridge was to have an effective range of 300 to 500 yards. And here we come with the M1 carbine, which we'll have to talk about in a moment, because 300 yards is absolutely within the range of the rifle. Now, a lot of people push that. A little differently, because it turns out that the most combat engagements under 300 yards are in that 50 to 200 yard range, 50 to 300 yard range. So when you look at 200 yards, the M1 carbine looks even better, okay? Whereas if you look at 200 yards, the 45, which is what this must be compared to, is ridiculous. We're going to get there, and why the 45 matters here in just 1 second. But, so, the engagement range defines an intermediate cartridge. It needs to be effective in that range. Maximum range needs to be something in the area of 300 to 500 yards. Low recoil impulse. There's 2 reasons for that. One is that you need to be able to stay on target, get back on target. The other one is that, yes, intermediate cartridges are often used in fully automatic weapons, specifically the assault rifle concept. Now, one of the things that the gamers, the Mario Kart guys, don't understand is that the definition of assault actually matters here. The tactic of assault, the idea of assault, assaulting a position is actually part of what goes into making an assault rifle. Okay? Slow down for a minute here. And at that point, you're dealing with even lower ranges than you were before. Assault does not tend to be a 300-yard game. Now, you want a compact, ammunition weight became part of the deal also. You want a compact firearm. So, in this regard, we're not talking about 8mm Kurtz yet. I don't know why the STG-44, all 400,000 of them, and the 8mm Kurtz round that was developed in 1943 for the idea of bringing what amounts to the submachine gun into an infantry position, okay? Because remember, that's what we're doing. We're taking, with the STG-44, that concept, you're taking the submachine gun concept and trying to stretch it into an infantry rifle concept, okay? You're not working backwards, you're actually working forwards. I don't know why that's so important to everybody. It seems to be that you can't talk about the M1 carbine now without talking about 8mm Kurtz and the STG-44, and I think that's probably Mario Kart again. I think that's the big deal, all right? So the M1 carbine is right around that 2,000 foot per second threshold. It's a rifle caliber. It's a rifle performance round. It is the absolute bottom end. It's a light rifle. It's a cartridge developed from literally a light rifle cartridge. It was called a light rifle cartridge, okay? That's what it was developed from. It's a tapered case, straight wall. So a lot of people say, well, it's not bottleneck, therefore it doesn't develop this amount of pressure or that amount of pressure or something. And it's bullshit, okay? People are going to tell you the 45-70 is weaker than, a 32-20 because there's no bottleneck or some shit, okay? People who don't... Mario Kart, God of War, whatever the games are, Call of Duty, they're playing games. They're not shooting. So, we're going to go back just for a moment here and wrap up, and then we'll do the second video, just because these things get extremely long. M1 carbine, light rifle. bottom of the intermediate calibers, intermediate rifle class. Intermediate rifle cartridge, rifle performance, 300-yard range, light recoil, and yeah, the definition evolved over time. Okay, over time, the idea of full auto fire, being able to control 5-round bursts, became important. It was not the important thing at the beginning in July of 1942 when they first started rolling off of the assembly line, or in 1940 when they started developing this idea, or in 1941 when they adopted the program. Okay, no, fully automatic fire was not the main consideration. It was not really a consideration. It did develop, okay, and it's part of the intermediate rifle concept. And then, why the M1 carbine specifically? Next video, all right? Just remember, right now, the 30 caliber M1 carbine cartridge is the bottom end of an intermediate rifle cartridge. It's not in between, it's not a pistol. It's not supposed to be in between a pistol and a rifle. It's supposed to be a light rifle. And light rifle is something you will find in period documentation. As a phrase, you need to grasp it and bring it into your heart and love it and turn off Mario Kart. See you in a few minutes.